Hello, hello, hello. Uh, to the 10 to 13 cousins and friends that have seen and watched the previous uploads on my channel. This is a little thing, this is a little bit different. I still don't know what I'm doing with this, but just finished a great book. Quite messed up, but great nonetheless. So, this is a book review for Kate Elizabeth Russell's My Dark Vanessa. Kate Elizabeth Russell, My Dark Vanessa. How we are going to go through this review, I'll just take you through the format. We'll first go through the logline. Logline is a short, you try and keep a logline to exactly one sentence. This one's a little bit longer. We'll go through the logline, then the synopsis, and then the comments on creative feedback. So that would include my strongest opinion on the premise, the characters, which is the protagonist and the antagonist, the dialogue, the storyline, then my strongest opinion on the writer, what are the strengths and weaknesses of the subject, the story flow, structure, plot, dialogue, any sequences that stood out or could be reworked, were you satisfied with the climax and resolution, distracting logic flaws, or were you okay with it? Then any hook points, suggested, elaborated, any major turning points, do you lose interest? Then the fifth is characterization. What did you think of the characters, motivation, believability, etc., journey, empathy of main characters, villains? Sixth is conclusion, overall assessment. What do you feel at end versus beginning? Seventh is writer evaluations. And then the final header would be commercial viability feedback. Do you think that there is commercial potential in this concept, subject, or story idea? If the script proposal has come with the director attached or writer who wants to direct, what are your thoughts on the proposed director and the treatment he or she may give the project, he, she, or they? Do you think that this is a director that we should partner within commercial creative branding parameters? If there's no cast attached, any thoughts on potential cast possibilities? Then if cast is potentially in quotes, interested, what are your thoughts on the potential cast in terms of commercial box office potential and talent? Is there a certain cast you could see with this film that could guarantee a certain box office and justify a budget range? If so, please specify. And lastly, do you think the talent or the analyst who has submitted the project are people that we should partner with and do a film with? As you can see, the questions and the format that when I say we, I mean me and my 13 other personalities, but the format that we are following is the standard script or story coverage, hopefully standard script and story coverage. The reason I'm looking here and then looking there is because all my notes are on my laptop. Just finished this today. Hopefully this can be this sort of upload can be something that I'll follow through regularly, not making any promises on the regularity, but regular. So let's start. The title of the novel is My Dark Vanessa. The author is Kate Elizabeth Russell. It's a novel. It's 372 pages. As far as premise, characterization, dialogue, and storyline go, in terms of excellent, good, fair, and poor, I find the premise, characterization, and storyline excellent. I find the dialogue good. Maybe I'm biased because it's quite a heavy subject matter. I quite like reading stuff like this. I don't know why. Maybe I shouldn't read stuff like this, but I quite like reading stuff like this. So yes, let's get started. Logline. Vanessa Wye was 15 years old when she first had, I'll put this somewhere here, with her English teacher. She is now 32, and the teacher, Jacob Strane, has been accused of by another former student. Vanessa has to redefine the greatest love story of her life. Now she must deal with the possibility that she might be a victim, and just one of many. I'll just forgot to say this, but trigger warning. The heavy subject matter deals with, hopefully I'll edit this properly, this and this. So if this triggers you, maybe close the video. Hopefully don't give me a dislike, but yes, trigger warning. Let's start with the synopsis. Whatever words I can't say, I'll just use this and edit the word later, obviously with your normal apostrophes to kind of blur out the full word, but then I trust you're smart enough to know what the word is, and even if you aren't smart enough, that's okay. None of us are smart. We're quite dumb, actually, all of us. So yes, including me, quite dumb. Synopsis. The story of My Dark Vanessa is non-linear, and it intercuts between present-day 2017 and the years during which the protagonist Vanessa Wye attends boarding school as a 15-year-old, during the early 2000s and her college years in 2007. To give you a brief introduction into the sensitive matter the story handles, I shall provide an in-depth synopsis from where the story picks up in the early 2000s, since there lies the meat on the bone when 15-year-old Vanessa enters her second year of boarding school, while providing a brief summary to the present day 2017. Now we begin. Precocious 15-year-old Vanessa Wye joins the established Browick Preparatory Boarding School. Entranced by the lush green lawns and Gothic architecture shown on the school's brochures, Vanessa enters her second year as a boarding student, coming off of a falling out with her only friend Jenny. Lonely and reclusive, yet aching for some form of human connection, Vanessa develops harmless feelings for her English teacher Jacob Strane, the middle-aged, cool teacher from Harvard that cusses in class, and Mr. Strane notices this. Unbeknownst to Vanessa, Mr. Strane finds every chance to talk to the 15-year-old Vanessa, complimenting her red hair, which the other students have made fun of, and lends her inappropriate books, such as Nabokov's this book and Nabokov's selected poems. Mr. Strane singles her out as special, mature, and an enigma. Not the Dota 2 kind of enigma, but enigma as in what you would just Google enigma. Even I don't know what enigma means. I'm just guessing it means whatever I think it means, and I can't explain what I think it means. Quite dumb. Where was I? He constantly tells her that he dreams of tucking her into bed and kissing her goodnight. Messed up. Giddy with excitement, Vanessa in turn feels special and loved. One afternoon during English class, Mr. Strane calls Vanessa to his desk to critique one of her class submissions, while the other students continue with their coursework, heads bent and concentrating on their work. I should do something about this acidity. Mr. Strane places his hand on Vanessa's bare knee, messed up. Instantly, Vanessa shows signs of mentally shutting down, drifting away from her body, suspended over her own self and looking down at the scene. Her body is petrified, unable to move. Strane takes this as a sign of approval and continues his advances. A confused Vanessa naively mistakes this inappropriate advance as a sign of affection and love. I don't know why I read these books. I don't know why. As the second year continues, we are following the story from Vanessa's second year onwards. So, as the second year continues, Vanessa finds herself drawn closer to Strane. Strane being Jacob Strane, this word of a teacher. They spend the night at his house, where inevitably he forces himself upon her. Unable to move, she gives in and similarly drifts away from her body, yet again suspended above Strane's bed, watching the entire scene unfold before her. Very uncomfortable. Very, very uncomfortable to read this. But I still read it. I don't know why. Slowly, Vanessa's peers and other school children catch drift of her being Slowly, Vanessa's peers and other school children catch drift of her being Strane's classroom pet. As the events unfold, Vanessa's previous only friend Jenny was the only friend that Vanessa had during her first year of boarding school, where at the end of the first year she had a huge falling out with Jenny. That's why when she enters the second year, she's lonely, reclusive, but still aching for some form of human connection, which is understandable. We live in a society for millennia. Cavemen, fire. So yeah, where was I? As the events unfold, Vanessa's previous only friend Jenny confronts her one evening in her dorm. Vanessa tries to shrug off the so-called rumors and defend Strane, captivated by his love and attention, however too young to spot Strane's... I don't know if YouTube will ban me for saying this word, so I'm just being safe. Of her, I'll just repeat that again. Captivated by his love and attention, however too young to spot Strane's... Of her, Jenny informs her father, who is a member of the school's board, of this relationship, and Strane and Vanessa are summoned to the headmistress's office. Strane shows no sign of giving in, but instead manipulates Vanessa to take the fall for them both for the sake of their love. Vanessa is then made to withdraw from the school and stand in front of her peers and classmates as if on trial. Traumatic for anyone, whether you're 15 or 30 or 50. Not done. Vanessa is then made to withdraw from the school and stand in front of her peers and classmates as if on trial to tell them that she concocted the rumors of her and Strane because she had a crush on him. So this is the in-depth part of the synopsis that I've given, that I'm, whatever it's called, narrating right now. Now we go to the brief summary of the intercut between present day and 2000. I'm not really delving into 2007 because then the synopsis will basically be a 5-pager, which I don't want to do right now. Now 32 and a concierge at a posh hotel in Portland, Vanessa's life is unknowingly dictated by her relationship with Strane. She has never once thought of her relationship with Strane as... Instead, she constantly reminds herself that she was the one who wanted it, that he always asked her for permission before doing anything, and that she was the one who ignited the dark side within him, pushing him to her. As the allegations against Strane start to build up and as more victims come forth with their stories, Vanessa is caught between the present and reliving her past with Strane across the years, from the start of their love in the early 2000s up until her college years, where Strane would visit her, and on until present day 2017, where they keep in touch through late night phone calls, reliving the past and especially the times they spent in his office, behind the English classroom and his house. Why? Forced to rethink her past, to revisit everything that happened. Forced to rethink her past, to revisit everything that has happened. Vanessa has to redefine the great love story of her life, her great awakening as... I'm just tired reading this now. Now she must deal with the possibility that she might be a victim and just one of many. Nuanced, uncomfortable, bold and powerful, My Dark Vanessa goes straight to the heart of some of the most complex issues of our age. Synopsis. Again, I don't know why I read these books, but I do. Maybe I should talk to my therapist about why I read these books. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should just let it go. But yeah, it's messed up. Quite heavy. But still, beautiful writing. Kate Elizabeth Russell has done a great job. That's the main reason why I kept reading it. Otherwise, it's just like reading something that an incel wrote. You don't want to read that. Comments on creative feedback. First, comments. Creative feedback is the header, the subheader, strongest opinion on. The subheader is premise. These are my thoughts. Then again, that was my synopsis, that was my logline. A lot of my's, but this is her book. So yeah, I don't know why I did that. Creative feedback, strongest opinion on. Premise. There is a dearth in sensitive subject matter such as this, and this. There is a dearth in sensitive subject matter such as 1, 2, 3. I think that's enough time for me to write these things, type these things down in the edit. Not that there isn't enough written about, but that there isn't enough written about it that handles it with the care needed to show its true outcomes and effects without sounding like a desperate 18-year-old incel. Now my strongest opinion on the characters. The protagonist. Vanessa is written as the epitome of self-destruction and bad decisions shaped by the childhood trauma she has had to undergo but refuses to classify as abuse. There is no judgment in this sentence. We don't know what someone fictional, non-fictional has been through. We don't know what they are going through, what they have been through. And it's just presumptuous to judge someone. We all do it. Maybe we can stop doing it. When I say we, I mean me and my 13 other personalities. So yeah. However, there is light at the end of the tunnel. Therefore, this piece of fiction is not all doom and gloom, and there's redemption for Vanessa, albeit open-ended, which offers more comfort to the audience since they themselves can write the rest of the story for her. In a sense, wishing her good luck. This book is like my Spotify playlist called Relax Stuff. My very close friend Shubharti told me that playlist feels like darkness with a small glint of light, which I didn't realize, so thank you, Shubharti. Vanessa Wye is depicted and constantly praised by Strane as he grooms her as mature and bursting with potential. The PTSD that she suffers due to her long-standing relationship with her is expertly depicted through the transformation she undergoes as a character, one with potential not just in boarding school but also in college. Damn, I should drink water. However, her relationship with Strane places such an intense weight on what she thinks of herself that she's unable to differentiate between the love of a 1 and a 2. And as we see later in the book, when we are introduced to Henry Plough, Henry Plough, I don't know if Plough is a correct pronunciation. Basically, she's unable to differentiate between the love of this and this and the relationship of a well-meaning professor who wishes the best for her future. Because of what she's been through with Strane as her teacher when she was a teenager, she doesn't know how to go about a scenario where someone in an academic setting who holds a position of power and who is in that professor-teacher role, she doesn't know how to respond when it's not with that intention. Very sad. But it's not all doom and gloom. Vanessa, good luck to Vanessa. So yeah. Antagonist. Him. YouTube, don't ban me. Jacob Strane is the quintessential, from the way he finds chance opportunities to have a chat with Vanessa, 15-year-old Vanessa, to his seemingly harmless remarks and compliments. His actions go from strength to strength, as he notices that Vanessa isn't sounding the alarm at his advances, each action becomes bolder and bolder. One habit in particular that Strane demonstrates time and again is his expert ability to shift the blame of his actions and instincts onto his victims. He lures Vanessa in by telling her that she has the power to ruin him when he's the one who initiates. Whether it is the first innocuous compliment, or the first pat on the knee, or the first time he... This is just sad. Like, the scene was just sad. Which forces Vanessa to place the blame on herself as the one who was asking to be complimented, as the one who let him pat her on the knee, to the one who didn't refuse him when they had dialogue. Now dialogue. My strongest opinions on dialogue. The not so subtle references to Nabokov's and his selected poems in the dialogues is a great example of not just good dialogue writing, but also in inserting a plot device that you can take forward as the story progresses, and borrowing from an established piece of literature without coming off like a thief. The dialogues are creepy and scary where they need to be, as expressed earlier when Strane tells 15-year-old Vanessa that she can ruin him, to downright heart-wrenching when Vanessa's therapist tells her that. But those years aren't lost. They've just been neglected for a while. You can recover yourself. Storyline. My strongest opinions on storyline. My strongest opinion on storyline. Storyline. The author's decision to intercut between present-day 2017 and Vanessa's time in boarding school and her college years is an excellent way to remove the audience from the everyday horrors of the sensitive subject matter that this story deals with. It forces the audience to spend a little amount of time on the this, but also gives them a reprieve from the heavy matter by letting us cut back to the present day, which may not be light per se, but relatively lighter than Vanessa's time in the 2000s. As expressed earlier, Nabokov's and his selected poems as a plot device is expertly done, especially due to the way it is referenced throughout the novel. Now, strongest opinion on the writer. Subheading: what are the strengths and weaknesses of the script synopsis subject? Strengths first. The author Kate Elizabeth Russell's constant reference to Nabokov and later on to Shakespeare's Titus Andronicus lays the foundation of the matter this novel deals with, albeit with a stark eye, yet at the same time a tender touch, as it should be with material like this. While the mental and psychological aspects of, in particular, are expertly shown, the tenderness lies in leaving out the details of the physical brutality that comes with, and Kate's vivid description of PTSD and self-destruction is well researched and eloquently written. Weaknesses. I personally can't find any weakness in the author's ability to write. A lot would depend on the scriptwriter employed to take this novel forward. The story flow, structure, plot, dialogue, any sequences that stood out or could be reworked. Were you satisfied with the climax and resolution, distracting logic flaws, or okay? My thoughts? I would personally stick to my guns when it comes to the ending. If anyone financing the film would want to change the ending, then that would be a non-negotiable for me. Keeping it open-ended may seem European, but when done correctly, it always works. Any hook points? Suggested, elaborated? Any major turning points? Do you lose interest? No. One hook point for me would be the face dysmorphia that Vanessa experiences due to her PTSD. I would elaborate on that since it's a visible representation to show her anguish, mental state, and what years of trauma and self-denial have done to her. Characterization. What did you think of the characters, motivations, believability, etc., journey, empathy of main characters, villains? My thoughts? The characters, their motivations, their journey, and the empathy for the characters is spot on and believable. As you can see, I am not biased, not at all. Conclusion. Overall assessment, what do you feel at the end versus the beginning? My thoughts? Amazing piece of literature. I was hooked onto the book from the first page. I have a habit of leaving the theatre if a movie is not to my liking, no matter how much I've paid for the tickets. Matrix 4, case in point. If I'm devoting my free time to reading a book, I'm going to finish it only if I enjoy reading the book. Writer evaluations. Hats off to Kate Elizabeth Russell, to whoever the scriptwriter is. No pressure. Now, commercial viability feedback. Do you think that there's commercial potential in this concept, subject, story, idea? My thoughts? Yes. It's a strong emotional story that deals with real life problems that people still face to this day, namely at a young age, and the ideal course of action would be to co-produce with a Canadian co-producer, what with all the co-production treaties that Canada has signed with numerous countries, ranking first in the world back in 2019, then latch on to a French co-producer since you can ride on the coattails of your Canadian co-producer and shoot in Canada or France with an international cast, hire a sales agent during development, and make a plan of action focusing on film festival premieres and releases, while also applying to the EU for release and exhibition, as well as Canada and North America. Make use of the various co-production treaties that come with a Canadian and a French co-producer, and plan your post-production accordingly with the help of other film funds. If you're not in this industry, none of this makes sense to you. But then again, a lot of the stuff that I watch on YouTube, none of that makes sense to me. So, welcome. 2. If the script proposal has come with a director attached or a writer who wants to direct, what are your thoughts on the proposed director and the treatment that he/she might give the project? Do you think that this is a director that we should partner with? Commercial, creative, branding parameters? If there's no cast attached, any thoughts on potential cast possibilities? My thoughts? Acidity. The French director Francois Ozon. Sorry, I don't speak French. I'm not French. But his name spelled out is this. If I have the energy to add a photo of him, I will, but no promises. The French director Francois Ozon has dealt with emotionally heavy subject material like his 2020 release. The English title is Everything Went Fine, albeit it didn't deal with Lily Rose Depp would be ideal for the role of Vanessa Wye, but casting the 15-year-old Vanessa Wye would have to be handled with care and precision. However, Lily Rose Depp would also be able to play as her 15-year-old self. Visually, Sadie Sink would be great, as well as, in no particular order, Mackenzie Foy, Kiernan Shipka, Sophia Lillis, Daphne Keane, Ella Anderson, Madison Lintz, Dylan Conrique, Kayla Kayla, Masionet. Olivia Lind, Elsie Fisher, Megan Charpentier, Charpentier, and Esme Creed Miles. For the role of Strane, Stellan Skarsgård would be my first choice. As far as backup options go, in no particular order: Troy Garrity, Michael Mooney, Muchney, Bob Odenkirk, Michael Shannon, Jean Dujardin, accent coach needed, Matthew Amalric, accent coach needed. I loved Matthew Amalric in The Diving Bell and The Butterfly. Another really mentally taxing, emotionally heavy film that I enjoyed watching, and I was a child back then. I had hair on my head back then. That's how young I was. I was a child. Brilliant film. I still have to read that book. I think I should buy that book when I have cash. So yeah, Matthew Amalric, I am sorry for not pronouncing your name correctly, although I doubt that you're watching this or your agent is watching this, but in case you are, Matthew, I'm sorry. Accent coach needed. Again, just my thoughts. If you don't agree with me, please don't dislike. Adrian Brody, Andy Serkis, and Lars Mikkelsen. The next question. If cast is potentially interested, what are your thoughts on the potential cast in terms of commercial box office potential and talent? Is there a certain cast you could see with this film that could guarantee a certain box office and justify a budget range? If so, please specify. My thoughts? As expressed earlier, Lily Rose Depp would bring in the big bucks with her name alone, and Stellan Skarsgård or even Lars Mikkelsen would add some gravitas to not only the commercial but also the artistic appeal of the film. A good 25 to 30 million USD would be enough. Having Francois Ozon on board would give the cast a great director to work with and hopefully bring down their fees as well, especially Miss Depp. Miss Depp and your fans, please don't hate me for saying that. I think you're very talented. That's why I think your fees is also very high. The same goes for Stellan Skarsgård, Lars Mikkelsen, everyone on that list. I think you're all very talented. But yeah, you've got to keep the budget in mind. Got to make things work somehow or the other. Last question. We're wrapping up. I don't know how long. This is long. I don't know if anyone's gonna see this. Do you think the talent who have submitted the project are people that we should partner and do a film with? I don't know, since I have submitted this to the world, to YouTube, and to the 10-13 cousins that are watching this. My answer is, to risk sounding like a 20-year-old, it all depends on the vibes. My face. The vibes win. Whoever's watching this and whoever's submitting it. The whoever's submitting it being me. And my 13 other personalities. Okay, that's it. I just wanted to upload something, honestly. I just want to make a habit, or at least I like YouTube. I have great respect for YouTubers, and I just want to try this. So if anyone apart from the 13 cousins watching this, thank you. Leave a like, leave a nice comment, or don't leave a comment at all. Subscribe. Takes a micro millisecond to subscribe. If you want, put the notifications on. And yeah, read this book if you want, but it's a nice book. Mentally taxing but nice. Chalo, thank you. See you soon.